Hi again everybody. Okay, the next thing we're going to look at in preparedness in small spaces is going to be the fact of water. Now, water is very, very much taken for granted in the Western world. You know, we quite simply turn on our tap and expect it to appear, and never do we really think about interruptions to that. However, we're perfectly aware from minor plumbing issues through to larger scenarios, the water supply absolutely can get interrupted. And having lack of access to clean water is going to give us significant problems very, very quickly. If not for the dehydration fact, if I fail to keep my water intake up, I can get some very ill effects from that. But just also going into the sort of impact on hygiene and the ability to prepare food and kind of maintain our living space and things like that. So water absolutely is a vital requirement, and realistically quite a simple one to address, in that I just want to bring in and store a quantity of water. Now, this is where a small space becomes a little challenging, because I might get very enthusiastic and perceive that I want to store hundreds of litres or hundreds of gallons of water. I just quite simply don't have the space to do it here. But if I start to get creative and analyse my environment, I can actually easily get a sensible quantity of water, certainly enough to cover 3 to 5 days with no water supply, without too much of a problem. And I'm just going to show you an example of that now, in that I purchased 12 2-litre bottles of water, so 24 litres in total. That was as a start point. Now understand, the rule of thumb we normally look at is we're looking at storing 3 to 4 litres of water per person per day. That's to cover not only our hydration requirements but also any cleansing requirements we have. Now, this is where we need to contextualise this a little bit. Obviously, if I'm looking at an interruption to lifestyle, depending on the level of interruption and the severity of the disaster or the interruption I'm coming across, is going to be how much my normal routine is impacted. So, I'm not necessarily in a large scale problem going to be using this water to kind of wash my clothes and clean my floors and do too much with. I'm going to be preserving that pristine stock of water for far more health related and hydration related purposes. And that's something I just want you to bear in mind. If we start to break into this water supply, we do need to be rationing it very carefully and justifying what we're using it for, and being exceptionally efficient and really quite frugal with using this water supply, especially for things sort of like washing dishes or taking care of hygiene purposes. We don't want to be wasting this water, and unfortunately Western society indulges to the extent many people are just used to using way more water than we need for very, very simple tasks. Okay, but the example of where I've stored water in this small space, let's take a quick look. So you'll recognise this small kitchenette I was just studying, and if I just take you on a little trip down here, you see I identified this fantastic space just below this small cabinet here, and what I found is that was actually 2 bottles deep. So you'll see we've got 6 2-litre bottles at the front there, and there's actually another level of 2-litre bottles behind that. So there's my 24 litres of water. Now, the other thing I'm a huge fan of is sort of forming good habits. So you'll see what I've got just tucked out the way on this sink unit, not really sort of impacting, is another 4 litres, if not more, of water storage. And what I find is I use these small bottles every day. I kind of carry them with me to drink, so I just got in the habit of refilling them constantly and just having them on the side there. Now, the other thing to consider, if I go up slightly, at the top of this storage unit is again a phenomenal amount of storage room. Now, I'm not convinced I'm going to use that for water purposes because of the weight. I'm a little bit concerned about what's hanging in that cabinet on the wall, but again, it does give me some great storage options. Now I just want to reiterate a point there. One of the things we have to consider with our water storage is the weight of the water. So I don't want to be sort of placing it up on shelves or marginal areas that it's going to put unnecessary duress on the structure that I've put it on top of and possibly damage it or bringing that down. So I like kind of keep my water at floor level, and this is where you have to use your imagination. I've just shown you down at the bottom of this unit there's a huge amount of storage room underneath the bed in this small apartment, at the base of the wardrobe, and actually there's a couple of nooks and crannies in the very small bathroom that I could, with some creativity, tuck things away. So it's just identifying these small pockets of space, getting the appropriate storage size or medium to actually fit in and utilise that. Okay, so that was our look at water. Now let's move on.